Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alan Hayden. I am the Director of Alumni Relations at the NOCCA Foundation, and we welcome you to this afternoon's presentation. It's presented by the NOCCA Foundation with our sponsors, the Giamione Prima Foundation, and we are celebrating art education, spotlighting NOCCA. The New Orleans Center for Creative Arts is an art conservatory that has a 50th anniversary we are celebrating this year. So the first class to graduate was 1975, and this 50th class, 2025, you all will get a chance to hear from some of our graduates, as well as alum. So today's show, we're going to begin with the Lagniappe Session. It's going to be an interview between two NOCCA alum. This series is broadcasted on WWNO 98.9. And if you are watching us, we are also streaming at the Jazz Museum Facebook channels as well as YouTube, along with the NOCCA Foundation's streaming services as well. So without further ado, please put your hands together while we welcome Adonis Rose, class of 1992, NOCCA, and serving as our Executive Director for the NOCCA Foundation. Thank you, welcome. And also, while your hands are going, we want to welcome Miss Keisha McKee, who is class of 1991 from dance, and she is currently the Artistic Director of Arts with NOCCA. So welcome.
Thank you, Alan. How you guys doing today? So I have this radio show that I've been doing for about 4 years, and it's called the Lagniappe Sessions, and it is an NPR show. And when we decided to do this series, I wanted to do some of the interviews in front of a live audience. So if you guys clap, if you say, yeah, anything, you'll be on the radio, so people will hear you. But I'd like to thank you guys for coming out. I'm always excited to sit down with people and speak to them and learn about their lives and their stories. A lot of times I find that even if I've been knowing them for 30 years, there are a lot of things that I don't actually know about them and how they became to be who they are. So I would like to give a round of applause one more time for Keisha McKee. She is amazing. We actually went to NOCCA together. I graduated in 92, she graduated in 91. And back then, she didn't speak to me much, so I didn't get a chance to even have a conversation with her until I was like, 30 years old or something like that, but that's fine. No, I'm kidding. But we enjoyed NOCCA together. It was over on Perrier Street, very historical building with a lot of really talented people. During the time that we were there. It's still the same now. The level is really high. The kids are incredibly talented and smart, and we're keeping the tradition going. But I'm going to start out by reading a little bit of her bio. And I pulled this up. I pulled the bio up and had it on my phone. And there was so much in the bio that my screen went out. So I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I'm going to read enough for you guys to understand a little bit about Keisha. So, Keisha McKee, I don't know how updated this is, but she's beginning her 18th year at NOCCA and has deep roots in NOCCA's creative history, starting as an alum from the dance department and later as a part of the dance faculty, the dance department chair, and currently as the director of arts. Keisha is a skilled performing artist, choreographer, and educator born and raised in New Orleans. What part of the city are you from?
The East.
The East, all right, all right. Where did I stop? In New Orleans, and has served the New Orleans community as an arts educator and culture bearer for over 25 years. She received her BS in biology pre-med from Xavier University and an MFA in dance performance from UW-Milwaukee. Keisha is the founding artistic director of KM Dance Project, a dance theater company that gives agency to the voices of black dancers and choreographers in New Orleans, creates art that illuminates racial injustices and celebrates African American culture and the untold stories of black people. Her most recent work, Raw Fruit, had received a 2022 NPN Development Fund Award, a 2021 NPN Creation Fund Award, and a 2019 NEFA NDP Production Grant. I don't know what all of those initials mean.
It's
but
big,
I'm
it's a
reading
big
it.
deal.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Being the first dance company in the state of Louisiana to receive this award, Keisha has had an extensive local and national performance career in dance, theater, and musical productions. Performing with companies such as the Urban Bushwomen, Junebug Productions, Lula Elsie Dance Theater, Kumbuka African Drum and Dance Collective, Chard Gonzalez Dance Theater, Golden Road Theater Company, the NOLA Project, and Le Petit Theater. Her most recent awards include a 2022 Dance USA Fellowship, 2022 Urban Bush Women Choreographic Center Initiative Fellow, UBW CCI 2019 alum, a 2020 Contemporary Arts Center New Orleans Sweet Arts Award, and a 2018 CAC Southern Crossings Artist Residency. Now, when I read that, I didn't know half of the stuff that was on that she did all of this. So I'm impressed. Give her one more round of applause. Just one more. So, Keisha, you're really good at what you do. Like, really good at what you do.
Some say so. Yeah.
How did you become a dancer? Did anybody in your family dance? What sparked the interest?
You know, nobody was a professional dancer or anything like that, but I remember my older cousin taking dance classes with a local dance school, Crescent City Dance Troupe. Mm-hmm. And I went to their recital. I was about 4 years old, went to the recital, and I just remember seeing this performance of her in this, beautiful skirt and like gliding across the stage. And I was like, Mom, this is what I want to do. Mm. I need to do this. And so I've been dancing ever since.
All right. And how old were you then?
I was 4.
You were 4.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I started playing the drums around the same time.
Yeah.
And where did you go to school?
So you mean like high school? Grade school, dancing school?
You can do it all. Yeah?
Okay. So I went to Crescent City Dance Troupe.
Okay.
I studied there, and we marched in the parades for Mardi Gras. We did recitals and all the things, and then I auditioned for NOCCA, and I went to the dance prep program starting in 7th grade. So I started there and then went through the high school program and graduated. And then from there, I was dancing with Lula Elsie's Dance Theater, and went to Xavier University to study biology pre-med because, at that time, your parents were like, you want to get a degree in the arts? I don't know about that. Let's study pre-med, and then, this will be your fallback plan. Mm-hmm. But, of course, dance was always in my spirit. Dance was always there, so I was still dancing through college.
Absolutely. How many people from New Orleans do we have in the house? Oh, great. That is awesome.
Wow. Okay.
Well, we're glad to have you guys here. I figured you guys may have been familiar with some of the schools that she mentioned, all great institutions in New Orleans.
I forgot to mention McMain High School.
All right, mm-hmm. McMain. So Lula Elsie, to us, she's a legend, and she was actually teaching at NOCCA when I went there. I actually got my first experience performing as a musician behind her choreography and what she did with the students at NOCCA. And I know you're a choreographer. Yeah. And just recently I wrote a ballet, which was an eye-opening experience for me. But what is it like to choreograph for dance? I mean, where do you even start?
Everybody has their own kind of process. And it comes to people differently. But for me, it's visuals. I see a vision. I see shapes. I see, maybe energies or different kinds of emotions. And then from there is where I kind of experiment with movement. So some people might take like general technique movements, like an arabesque or a pirouette or do these things, right? But I like to experiment and kind of deconstruct those movements to make it fit more of the emotional pathway that I'm looking for. So
I'm a musician, so I can write music down to remember what I'm doing. Any musicians in here? Oh, great. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Any dancers? Any dancers?
Yay, all right.
Awesome. Awesome. So for musicians, I mean, you guys know we can sit at the piano or whatever instrument we play. I play some piano, so I can sit down and then I can write the music out or write it out in sections to remember so I can go back to it and build on a composition. But as a choreographer, I mean, do you write things down? I mean, how do you remember the steps?
Yeah. I do not write down steps.
If you were to write them down, how would you do that?
I write it down based on what the step represents.
So is it kind of like the bus stop or one of those dances where you put the left foot first and then you put, you kind of write it down like that?
No.
Okay, how do you?
I might be like, okay, so in this moment, okay, so let's say this piece, Raw Fruit, that we just did. There was a solo that I performed. It was totally improvisational, but I created a score. So I created a score, this kind of journey of what is happening in the piece.
Is it like a script?
It's kind of like a script.
Okay.
But it's not so detailed. It's literally, okay, this moment I'm thinking about prayer and my spiritual response. In this moment, I might be thinking about like what my experience was cooking with grandma in the kitchen. You know, so the movement might be coming from that. It might, you know, I might be kind of tearing things up or, in some way or form, thinking about transitioning from one thing into the next.
That kind of looks like something I would do. Just kinda,
Right.
Wild, don't know what you're doing, maybe had a few drinks. No, I've always wondered about that because, I worked with Miss Cleo Parker Robinson. I had never written a ballet before, so to go in and to watch the choreography happen, actually it happened after I wrote the music.
Oh,
so I wrote the music first. She took it easy on me and let me write the music out, and then they choreographed. So I didn't see the work first and then have to write the music to it, which would have been much more difficult for me to do.
You know, and you're saying difficult, but in Raw Fruit, I worked with a musician, Free for All, and Free was a part of our rehearsal process from the beginning of creation. And so as I provided prompts for myself and for dancers to create movement, Free was also given those same prompts to create movement based on the subject matter, based on the emotional journey, based on the experience that we were, trying to convey.
Sure.
And the marriage of the two was just phenomenal.
Yeah, well, I have to try it.
You do.
That version of
You
it.
you do. You got to do it. It'll be life-changing.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting. So tell me what it's like to be able to work with the students at NOCCA. So I know you worked in the dance department, and then you chaired the dance department, and now you're the director of arts for all of the departments. Yeah. But what is the interaction like? What do you see in the students? Is it similar to how it was when we were there? You recognize the talent, and then you see the kids develop from the time they get there to the time they graduate. I know it's a very broad, general question.
Yeah.
But what is it like to go to work every day and work with the students?
You know, it's really special. It's very similar to, our time, except, students these days are exposed to so much more. They have so much exposure, so much, involvement with not just, the class work, but like the world around them. We didn't have social media, and we didn't have access to everything that was happening right when it happened.
Right. I had a beeper. That was it.
Correct. So, so the kids that we're dealing with they're coming in with a lot of knowledge, a lot of information. Yes, they are coming in to hone in on their craft. We see the potential in them, and then, we give them what they need to be able to become better students, become better trainers, to learn how to train better. Basically, that's what we're doing, right?
Sure.
We're not like creating professionals, right when they step out.
Right.
Some of them, of course, could have the capacity to do that. But what we're really instilling in them is the work ethic, the discipline, all the things that it takes to be able to train and become a professional artist. So in that realm, it's very similar to what we were getting.
Sure.
We're getting the foundations of how this would look if you chose to do this as a profession.
And if somebody wanted to audition for NOCCA, what does that process look like?
Oh, yeah. So it would depend on the discipline, but basically they would complete an application, and then they would be scheduled for an audition. And some disciplines do a pre-screening, so you may have to submit information before the audition to be able to be chosen to come in to audition. So that's some departments. And then other departments, you might have a mass audition where you come in on the audition day and do everything as a large group. Some auditions are individual interview processes. They may look at your portfolio and then do a callback as a large group. So it really just, it's depending on the discipline.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have another question. It's kind of off topic. Do you make red beans and rice?
Oh, baby, I just had some red beans and rice
yesterday.
yesterday.
Okay, well, you made them Monday, but those were leftovers.
That was leftovers.
Well, Mondays in New Orleans, it's red beans and rice day. So just in case you guys didn't know that. But what do you like to put in your red beans? This is just popped in my head.
Now, see, I don't eat meat. So I make a good old vegetarian red bean, right?
Vegetarian red beans and rice.
Come on now.
All
Look,
right, what do you put in that?
I'm putting my foot up in it. That's
Well,
what
I know that much. I know that. Outside of the feet, what do you put in there? And not the pig's feet.
Right. Well, there's some good vegetarian options that mimic.
Somebody drop something with this vegetarian red beans thing. I know I'm nervous about it too, but go ahead.
No, they got good products that mimic the flavor of meat and the texture of meat. So I used to use that the apple sage chicken apple. It's not chicken, but chicken apple sage
what is
sausage
that?
by Field Roast. I mean, basically, it's mushrooms, a little wheat gluten, and all these kinds of things that they put together and make it into a sausage. But it's a pretty good one. It has some spice in there.
It sounds good. Do you use Blue Runners?
I don't use Blue Runners.
Blue Runners are the red beans in the can.
The camellias. That's
okay. The camellia. Yeah,
the camellias in the bag.
Okay, all right.
But I soak them and I use my seasonings,
Right.
my Holy Trinity.
I know you do. I'm not going to get into the details because not everybody like to share their recipes, so we're not going to talk about that. But that was on my mind.
That's good.
I like to ask things sometime. So tell me a little bit about your company, your dance company, and how long it's been around, and some of the work that we talked about Raw Fruit, but some of the works that you've done and what you have coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been this is year 11 actually, 11 years. And it's local dancers that are here in the city wanting to have a voice. When I was dancing, with this company, that company, doing a bunch of gigs and here and there, I didn't really have a whole lot of opportunities to choreograph. So when I started the company, it was really rooted on this opportunity for dancers to have an artistic voice.
Sure.
So this past August, we just had a concert where we would showcase the choreographic voices.
Sure.
So people who are in the company would have an opportunity to choreograph dances on company members, and they would get paid to do it, basically. So we've done that, and we also have the touring arm where we have toured Raw Fruit. We closed that tour this past March at Ashe Cultural Arts Center. So we'll be moving on to a new concept. What we're actually gonna do. It's kind of remnants of Raw Fruit. Since we had such a great experience with the musician, we are going to do a live sound recording of like a soundtrack, basically, of the show, because the music is so amazing.
Yeah.
So we're going to work on that little project to just get that down, digitally record that. And then we're working on a new work centered around Black joy, just joy. I just wanted to...
we need more joy in the world. Don't we need more joy in the world? We do.
Absolutely. joy and, just as resilience, joy as survival,
Yeah.
The love of joy,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to choose to be happy nowadays.
Oh, absolutely.
I have another question. When are you going to hire me to write some music? I mean, I'm a musician. I need a
Look
gig.
now, all right. You ready?
I don't know if I'm ready, but I just, you can call me and ask me. At least I get the offer.
Okay, all right. Okay, we got the Joy Project coming up as soon as I get I got the funding to, work on the seed.
Okay.
The seed idea.
That's all we need. That's all we
yeah,
need.
we get that seed
I'll
idea
make sure I have a
going.
few back massages, and I'm in a good mood.
There you
because
go.
this joy piece, I need to be in a good mood
That's right.
to be able to write it.
That's right.
You have a really interesting life. Doesn't she have an interesting life? What do you guys think? Where are you guys from? Indiana. Oh, I see is that Pacers? Or that's, all right. South Carolina, all right.
Yeah.
New York? Where in New York? All right. Where else? Uptown?
All right, uptown.
All right. Anybody from Europe? Scotland. Anybody else? Virginia.
Yeah.
Houston. Anybody from Mississippi? No. Alabama, Utah. California, all right. Atlanta. All right, well, welcome to our city.
Yes.
Again, we love coming here and speaking to people like Keisha, people who are in our arts community who do so much to help cultivate the arts, especially for young people. And the Jazz Museum is such a great place to get together, to sit down and have a conversation. And there's so much great music and things happening at this facility all of the time. So while you guys are here, make sure that you check out the artifacts in the gift shop and just kind of move around and see all of the things that the Jazz Museum has to offer. I'm going to ask Keisha maybe one or two more questions, and then I'm going to open it up for you guys to be able to ask some questions. So you've been at NOCCA, is it 18 years? Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. Well, how long do you plan to stick around? You have any plans to retire, or you have a lot more work you need to get done?
I got a 10-year plan, a 10-year retirement plan.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking at.
So, okay, so that makes it 28 years. That's good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, since coming over to the foundation, I've been with the NOCCA Foundation. July makes a year for me, and it's been a very eye-opening experience to be able to experience the school and the students from this perspective. And to be able to, even though I don't see Keisha that much because we're always working and trying to get things done, it's great to know that another alum is at the school in her capacity. So let's thank Keisha again for being here. One more time for Keisha McKee. And what I would like to do at this time is to open it up for you guys to ask some questions. So just raise your hand if you have a question, and we'll try to answer it.
There's a question this way.
All right.
Hi, in your recent project, you talked about working with a musician and giving them your impulses and energies and gestures and having that spark their composition process. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that process and working with a musician to create the music, and if there was a moment where maybe they played something for you and that changed your concept and caused an energy shift in the creating the choreography, things like that, just the process of creating this new work.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of my processes will start with research and then discussions, conversations and discussions. So when we're starting with that, we all kind of have this body of knowledge and this language that we're all thinking about and working from. So yes, and I think giving directives was a part of it, but also Free's contributions to the conversations and Free's own research. this one particular moment, we call it the debutante moment, where one of the dancers, Catherine, is, playing out this debutante scene. And we had several different iterations of music to that particular section. And then Free went back and did some research and came back with this French tune, this kind of Cajun French tune. I don't know the name of it, but C'est mon limite, something like that. But Free brought that contribution in, and it was just the perfect moment. It just like really kind of created this juxtaposition of, this beauty. The song really talks about like, I love you so much that I would slash my throat and do all these horrific things because I love you so much. And so it just put this juxtaposition inside of that moment and success. So yes, there was definitely this, kind of back and forth feedback, of Free contributing and, writing. Free plays cello, also like percussive instruments, and Free also is an amazing vocalist. So Free would sing and write lyrics and, do all these things. Really, really beautiful, really beautiful, yeah.
There's another question in the back.
All right.
Hi, it's Uptown again.
All right.
I wanted to know if you guys could kind of talk about and elaborate what it means to both of you guys individually to be at NOCCA and working not only with the organization but at the school as we celebrate 50 years. What it means to you personally, what it means to you professionally as musicians or creators, and then last but certainly not least, what it means to you as curators of the culture and folks working with our young folks to help preserve legacy.
Yeah, well, for me, I never saw myself in this position. I started out professionally in touring the world at 17, and I've been a professional musician since then. I am 50 now, but especially 15 or 20 years ago, I just assumed that I would just play music, record, tour, and just be a professional musician in that capacity until I retire. We really don't retire. But I ended up working for another organization and coming in as the managing director and spending a lot of time at that organization where I really got involved and I learned a lot about nonprofits, administration, and things like that. And I always believe one opportunity always leads to the next thing. And for me, I'm the type of person, I like to learn all of the time. I never just kind of sit still and say, okay, well, I know enough. I'm comfortable. I'm always looking to grow and experience new things. And when the opportunity to be a part of the NOCCA Foundation and the school was presented to me, I thought that it was a really big deal. I felt like it was a really heavy responsibility, especially as I went through the interview process, that whoever was going to take the job really had to care about the students. They had to understand the arts, probably had to, in some capacity be an artist or a professional. But I realized it was a really, the person had to have a connection to the arts and the community in order to do the job properly. And I felt like I was that person because I was in the shoes of the students who I support. So as an artist, it helps me in a lot of ways, even though I'm not in a classroom teaching, just to be able to interact with students behind the scenes, just to be able to know what their needs are beyond what you see. Because, kids are resilient, they're happy all the time, but they have needs. So to be able to work with my team and board of directors to give the students what they need is a very fulfilling thing for me. And because of that contribution, we make it possible for those students to go out into the world and provide a positive impact in the arts, but also as citizens. because people who are involved in the arts, they usually make contributions that are much larger than that to the community. So just a great moment for me, full circle moment for me, to be able to come back and support the school and the students of the school, because NOCCA really changed my life. It was the one place that gave me the realization that I could be a professional artist, and here I am, and so is Keisha. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started working at NOCCA right after Hurricane Katrina. So it was a really critical time for rebuilding. We probably only had maybe 15 to 20 dancers in the program, and that included our middle school program. So it was a really vulnerable time for our city, a vulnerable time for artists, a vulnerable time for our children. And so it was super important for me personally to come back and create a space where there was consistency, where we have a lot of talented people in our city. It's not like you coming here to be talented. You're coming here to learn how to be disciplined, to learn how to be professional, to learn how to, develop your work ethic, so that your talent is what is the foundation, but all these other things are gonna help you to really be a professional and have a career in the field. And so to be able to give that opportunity to students was really critical, especially at that time. And so I feel super grateful because, I was able to be a part of a period of growth and revitalization and rebuilding, to be able to, have what we have now. It's just incredible. Our students our senior class, literally, it was 120 kids, and they got offers of over $47 million in scholarships and awards, right? Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
that's right.
So to provide that kind of an opportunity for, a student, some, we have various students that, some have means and some literally are coming or sleeping on a couch of someone's house, right? So they're coming from, various different places, but coming to this one place where they're all seen as, special. They're all seen as, being able to go out into the world and, create a future that they can only imagine, right? That they're dreaming about. So to me, that's super important. And then in my position now as a Black woman being the director of arts, at the administrative table, to me, it was super important to have that kind of a voice, especially also as a NOCCA alum, like understanding where we come from and what we're grounded in, what our organization and our education system is grounded in, to be able to, shepherd that forward, to continue that work. It's super. I feel grateful every day to go to work and do the work that I do. So
Yeah, and for those who may not know, the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, some of our alum are world-renowned. A lot of them are. Wynton Marsalis and all of the Marsalis family of musicians attended NOCCA. I'll just speak more about musicians. Harry Connick also went to NOCCA. Terrence Blanchard and Donald Harrison went to NOCCA. John Batiste went to NOCCA. Sullivan Fortner, Courtney Bryan. We have so many talented people. Wendell Pierce, the actor that's on TV, he went to NOCCA. Anthony Mackie, the new Captain America, he also went to NOCCA. Calvin Harrison, the actor, he went to NOCCA. And we have a lot of great dancers and visual artists and people who attended the school. So NOCCA, we produce some of the best artists in the world. And I'm proud to say that, especially being alum and to see the school still operating at a very high level. So I just wanted to give you guys an idea of who and what we're talking about. It's really being done on the highest level. Any other questions?
I think we have time for one more question before the music starts. Is there another question?
And our students are performing, so they're here.
Yes.
So they're going to perform. Our jazz students are going to perform for you guys.
So amazing.
Okay, hi, Adonis and Keisha.
Hey, Courtney, I just mentioned your name.
Thank you. I'm honored. Yeah, I don't know. Y'all sort of spoke on this, but if you just could list a few things, since all of us came out of the old NOCCA or the old building, and NOCCA has grown so much over the years into this fabulous large campus and all these different areas. But I guess what are some of the main things about the new NOCCA that you see as a strength or something you're most excited about, and what are some of the elements of the old NOCCA that you feel are important as alum working in these positions, giving back? What are some of those qualities or things from the old NOCCA that you feel are important to continue?
We talked a little bit about this backstage, and it was pretty funny because Alan asked us about our auditions when we auditioned at NOCCA, and things were a lot different. I auditioned in 1988 and then started in '89, but I think the requirements were different. Back then it was a much smaller school. In the jazz department, we maybe had 10 or 12 people in the class. We had one classroom. It was a very small old elementary school that was used as the NOCCA campus. But when I did my audition, I come from a family of musicians. My dad's a drummer. My grandfather was a drummer. My uncle's a bassist who teaches at NOCCA now. And I have other uncles that also are musicians. But when I went in, I was coming from the marching band. I was marching in the parades and doing all of that. But I was playing some drum set. I could play funk beats and things like that, but not a lot of jazz. So when I did my audition, of course, Clyde Kerr Jr. was the jazz instructor at the time. And I went into audition with him. And, he was cool and everything, but after the audition was over, he was like, man, you're going to have to learn how to play jazz if you want to get in. So he said, you're going to have to go home and work and do some studying before I can admit you into the school. But back then, we didn't have a list of requirements of things that we had to pass on an audition for an audition. They made the decision. They were able to really identify talent in its rawest forms. And you know what I mean? So they were able to, I think back then, NOCCA, the impression that I got from the school was that we would learn how to be professional musicians after we got into the school, and we didn't have all of this information before going in there. So I almost didn't make it into NOCCA if I didn't go home and come and re-audition. What was your experience like, Keisha?
The teacher was very, very sweet. I came in also from the marching background. I was marching in parades and doing, little jazz dancing here and there. But I didn't have a strong ballet foundation. But I could mimic very well. I could mimic. So, the teacher said, oh, you did really, really nice, but you're going to have to work on some things and, come back and make sure your hair's in a bun.
Well, Keisha told us her hair was in rollers when she...
you can put me out there.
I thought that was funny. I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah,
because it brought me back to a time. Yeah,
right. But to answer your question, Courtney, I really would say that NOCCA back in the day, it was I don't want to say simple in a bad way, but simple in a good way, where it was just the necessities. It was what you needed and not all the extra fluff. So things were a lot more close knit. We were in the dance studio and jazz was like right around the corner, so we could hear y'all playing. We come and peek around the door, check us.
You guys, didn't you have a studio on the third floor?
We had a studio on the third floor.
So you guys would be dancing and like dust would be coming,
Yes. So it was just a really different kind of feeling and community in that realm. But now these kids they have so much more exposure to technology and equipment, $1 million, recording studio and all these things. The dance studio, oh my goodness. Our dance studio had no AC. We had a little floor and they had ceiling, kind of crumbling down on us. But The studio that we have now that literally overlooks the river. You know, it's huge, it's massive, beautiful spaces. And so, you know, I tell our kids all the time, y'all better be grateful for what you have, because you know, you don't realize how good you got it. But yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful, because you know, the industry, in all arts industries are ever changing and evolving and shifting, and so, you know, as we are pushing edges and boundaries and trying to, you know, be innovators, we really are, you know, trying to make that possible for our students, and to create a space where they're able to do that. So that's what's exciting about it. Yeah. But you know, there's, you know, you lose some things with gaining some things. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Let's thank Keisha McKee again for being here. This was amazing. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Alan is going to come up and say something else, but don't leave, because our students are going to come up and they're going to perform. I'm going to be backstage checking them out, or out here checking them out. So thank you guys again. We appreciate you being here and being a part of the Lagniappe Sessions.
Absolutely. So our musicians will come out. We'll introduce them in a second, and we also are going to do a little set change. So while whatever's happening on stage, don't let it interfere with your attention, because again, music will be starting in just a few minutes. So our musicians are going to come out and get set up, and while they're all getting set up on stage, just some background on NOCCA. So the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts is a high school, and so you all are hearing them talk about when they were in high school and they went to this high school. Well, how is it that the high school has evolved? Well, historically, when you attend high school, you probably take math, science, English, and then you do electives. Maybe you go to PE. Maybe there's home ec, or possibly computer, or whatever your elective may be. Well, at NOCCA, between 1974 and about 10 years ago, 2015, there were a few art departments. So you would receive your elective credits in those artistic departments. So Keisha here was in dance. Adonis was in jazz. We have an alum back there who was also in jazz. And then you're going to hear from everyone on stage who are jazz alum now. And some of the other departments that we have evolved over the years: creative writing, classical vocal. We have media arts. There's culinary arts. That's right, you're in New Orleans. And raise your hand if you've been eating since you've been visiting here in New Orleans. Great. Keep your hands up if you think that food is an art here in New Orleans. So, of course, that's right. So we have culinary arts, and we also have drama. We have musical theater and entertainment production design. What does that mean? That is the individuals that do the lighting, they do costuming, they do makeup, they create the sets, everything that puts on a production and a show that's not actually on stage. So without further ado, let's put our hands together for our musicians. We have Nigel Vallier, who is class of 2025 on guitar. There's Jerron Jesse on the drums, 2025. There's also Christopher Lawson Palmer, class of 2025, and our 2022 alum. 2022, I know. I was like, you're the old guy here. Okay, thank you, guys. Enjoy.
Good afternoon, y'all. Y'all are beautiful people. And today, we are going to start off with this song called Footprints, composed by Wayne Shorter, and we're going to be doing an arrangement by Terrence Blanchard, who is a NOCCA alum. So, hope y'all enjoy. Afternoon in Paris by John Lewis, y'all. Next up, we are going to be playing Invitation. Hope y'all enjoy.
Your hands are going. Keep a round of applause while we wrap up these fantastic musicians. Austin Hebert on bass. Jerron Jesse on guitar. Nigel Valier on guitar. Jerron Jesse on drums, and Christopher Lawson Palmer on the keys. Thank you all so much for joining us. The NOCCA Foundation and our concert series here, our partnership with the Jazz Museum, and our special shout out to our sponsors, the Gioni Mioni Prima Foundation. So if you are in support of arts education, a little bit of New Orleans culture, whether you're watching us near or far here with us today, feel free to support the NOCCA Foundation and visit us at noccafoundation.org. Also, on your way out, please grab some information, scan a QR code, get some wine, and enjoy your time here in New Orleans. Thank you.